Greetings duelists and welcome to another video. So I'm a little bit behind on the news, but we've had a lot of news being covered this week, and both in the OCG and in the TCG. As you guys already know, Infinite Forbidden is going to be the next core TCG set, and Rage of the Abyss is going to be the core OCG set that is soon to be released in both regions. Today's topic is going to be going back into the Mulcharmy Monsters. Here in the TCG, we're getting Mulcharmy Purulia, while in the OCG, they're getting Mulcharmy Fuwaross. So, Fuwaross is a new card. We've already talked about Purulia a couple of times already here in this channel. Before I talk about Fuwaross, I want to give like a brief synopsis on Purulia, since it's the one that's coming in the TCG the soonest. I think a lot of people were tunnel visioned on this card and on how potent it could be against like the more meta dominant strategies. I think Purulia is a really strong card, but not in the sense that it could over-centralize the metagame. I think the applications for this card are fairly niche because it does not like optimize the number of draws against a significant portion of decks in the metagame. That being said, we've just got revealed Fuwaross, and essentially this is the same effect as Purulia, but instead of the hand, it's from the main and extra deck. A lot of people have set their alarms off because of this, because summons from the extra deck are way more common than summons from the hand. Before I talk about the impact of Fuwaross and the contrast and parallels it draws in between it and Purulia, I want to talk about the current strategies that are actually like present in the metagame at the moment. As you guys already know, Snake Eyes, Tempai Dragons, and probably soon to be Jubel are going to be like the three most dominant strategies that we've known here in the TCG. Besides those, we have a few other ones like Voiceless Voice, Branded, Melodious, Labyrinth, and then we have like other like niche ones, like from Fire King Snake Eyes to Rika, Runic variants, Kashtira. Sprite has been getting a resurgence because of the Ice Barrier support. Ritual Beast has also gotten like very strong support in Battles of Legend, which also catapulted like its power. And then you have what's soon coming into here in the TCG, which is Finksmith. And then you have Centurion, which is not really Centurion, it's pretty much like the white forest strategy. Now that we've talked about the more popular decks that are in the format, let's talk about Purulia and Fuwaross impact into both these matchups, like both cards into all the matchups. Against Tempai and like against the top three, Purulia is probably mainly strong against maybe Snake Eyes and maybe Tempai Dragons. And it's not by a huge amount, it's like a fair minimalistic amount. Fuwaross, on the other hand, is a little bit more impactful, especially against Snake Eyes, because Snake Eyes do make a couple of summons from both main deck and the extra deck. That already gives Fuwaross way more value than it does to Purulia, and it kind of makes them like a very like strong card for them to be like worried about. Tempai Dragons, on the other hand, they do summon from the extra deck a fair amount. However, their main win condition involves no more than probably 2 to 3 summons between the main and the extra deck. So Fuwaross as well as Purulia is not as strong against Tempai Dragons. And most likely what you're drawing out of Fuwaross is not going to be significant in the battle phase. So on that regard, Tempai Dragons is a playable archetype against these two cards. Yubel, in the other hand, especially if you're paired up with Unchained, it's in a huge struggle between both of these. Purulia is going to net them enough draws from the hand, especially if they do like the Beckoning Beast play. And Fuwaross also gives them a lot of value because you are summoning from both main deck and extra deck with Yubel a fair amount. Especially if it's not pure Yubel and it's Yubel paired with the Fiendsmith and Unchained Engine. So next we have Voiceless Voice. Voiceless Voice does not really get hurt by Fuwaross a lot. However, it does primordially summon from the hand after a mount, which makes Purulia a fairly okay check against the strategy. And then we have Branded. I think Branded gets hurt more from Fuwaross than it does from Purulia, because Branded is a centralized extra deck strategy. The same thing goes for Melodious. It's pretty much a card that gets hurt by Fuwaross a lot more than it does for Purulia, despite the deck having a pendulum mechanic. I think that decks that really don't get hurt by any of these two cards are probably like Labyrinth and Fire Kings. Rika gets hurt by Purulia a lot. Runic also doesn't get really hurt by this unless you're playing a combo variant like this Whitewood one. That one really gets hurt by Fuwaross. Kashtira is also a strategy that can play around these two cards. Sprite, this one struggles from Purulia a lot more than it does for Fuwaross. However, it can play around one of them if they don't activate both of them on you. Ritual Beast is a very odd one. As someone who has been playing Ritual Beast competitively, I can say for sure that this card gets really hurt by both Mulcharmys. That being said, this deck can play around those cards if the graveyard equivalent or banish equivalent of the Mulcharmy monsters do come later on, which I do think it might come out in Supreme Darkness, which is the next Courtesy set. Then I think Ritual Beast is in a lot of danger. Fiendsmith as an engine already gets really hurt by Fuwaross, not much from Purulia. And then you have Whitewoods. I think Centurion alone as a strategy, really doesn't get hurt by these cards. But Centurion paired with other engines really do get hurt by both of these cards. Now that I talked about like the more popular decks in the metagame, let's summarize them both. I think as a whole, Fuwaross has a lot more impact than Purulia does. That being said, I think a lot of people are way too alarmed on how this card is going to play its role in the TCG or in the OCG. In the OCG, it's a lot more impactful because they still have Maxi. However, here in the TCG, we do not. And despite how powerful this card is, I think it's not really the end of the world when it comes to this. I think this card is very needed in the game, especially with how degenerate most extra deck strategies have been as of late. But yeah, those are my general consensus at the moment. I think that after this card is released, it's probably going to be a really expensive and really sought after card, because as of this moment of me recording, the more dominant strategies in the game actually that get hurt by Fuwaross. I think moving forward, Konami might give us more strategies in the game that really don't get hurt by these cards. And if we are still in a heavy hand trap format, a lot more people might be inclined into playing more strategies that really don't get hurt by these cards. That's why you see Voiceless Voice doing so well in the OCG compared to the TCG. In the TCG, Voiceless Voice is an okay strategy, but not really as dominant as like the other strategies that we've known in the game. Like right now, I would put them behind Branded and probably these other three. But in the OCG, Voiceless Voice has been played a lot more and has done as much as in the TCG because of Maxi. So if Fuwaross actually ends up being very significant in the format, you might see more people inclined to play more strategies that don't get hurt by Fuwaross. And we do have enough of those in the game. Like Labyrinth, Fire Kings, Runic variants, Kashtira variants, even Sprite can play around it a little bit. Centurion is a really good example of this. I don't think we're getting a Mulcharmy Monster that just like punishes people from special summoning from Spell and Trap Zone. At least not yet. Probably next year. So yeah, I kind of just wanted to share a few shower thoughts because I think a lot of people are way more alarmed than they should be because of the existence of Fuwaross. I hope you found this video informative and to your liking and understanding. More videos coming soon. Keep practicing and keep going.